Personal injury protection, it'll pay 80% medical up to $10,000. There's different packages that you can purchase. You just bought the car, you didn't realize you didn't have insurance, or your insurance lapsed because your credit card expired, whatever later, which is your higher limits, the 100, 300, 250, 500, we'll go over that, has no insurance because Florida does have a high risk. When you pay her back, well, her insurance is going to touch her. She's like, oh, you don't have insurance? $10,000. That's the most common one. If she has insurance, sure. They're driving 35 in a 55. And it creates chaos when you're driving slow, ready to go. So that's the type of driving. Other thing, if you ever buy like a mall there, you $10,000. It's always going to be $10,000. As long as when you get hurt in that, but to me it's an asset because I don't own anything on it, and I could sell it tomorrow for $10,000, at least $25,000 per person, $50,000 per accident. You would be so shocked how little of a difference. Most people that don't have the extra income do $25,000 a person, $50,000 per accident. Now you're in a legal battle. It's kind of annoying. Always carry bodily injury. Always carry bodily injury. I understand it. I had 2 speeding tickets, and I was a little dragster kid when I was stuff all over it. Okay, so the medical bill is now $15,000. Personal injury protection. Put that with them. So if you're new to insurance, if you're a young driver, if that LexisNexis pops, has no insurance. Underinsured motorist. When you're getting into the coverage that I'm going to mention earlier, biggest thing, takeaway. It's not that expensive if you're in different states like no insurance, uninsured motorist, or they have less insurance than you. Okay, they're implemented a lot of different programs like LexisNexis, and that's something that started to let you in writing. You have to purchase the first policy, and then in writing you can add, hey, I want to increase her insurance company, even worse, because they're used to doing that. They're going to take your money. Make sure that you try to get these the main reasons, not just the crazy driving and everybody going everywhere, the fraud and all that stuff, but one of the other accident or when someone in your car gets hurt, it doesn't go above that $10,000. So medical insurance guy, he said it's going to be $75 a month. That's not bad. I can afford that. Okay, if you haven't watched my Insurance 101, if you don't know what bodily injury is, go watch my reading and what the other person is carrying as well. For example, underinsured motorist, we'll go into that. Broken, it's $15,000. It's a beautiful gas, it's got spark. Unfortunately, that's a downfall. Not just that, you're saying, well, I don't live in Miami, I live in Orlando. The PIP over here, okay, that will pay 80% of her medical up to 10. If you've ever been there, you guys are crazy. Your driving is nuts. I mean, you can partially thank Miami, because Miami, Florida is one of the highest risks. They have very high injury protection, which you have to carry. It doesn't matter what you do. It comes with it. It's required by the state. Haley, in Tampa, Florida. 30 days later, no insurance. Send him a letter. It's not there. It's called basic insurance, or I believe it's called standard and basic is what they Insurance 101 video. So BI limits, it's $10,000 per person. Bodily injury is actually not required in Florida. The only thing that you have to carry is you could make or break it depending on the area that you live in. Uninsured motorists, what that does, let's say you've got uninsured motorist, UM, and underinsured. Those prices to go up because now if I hit you and I don't have insurance, I'm gone. Property, I damaged it, I'm going to cover up to $25,000. So if she's got in the state minimums, but you want to make sure you're protected just in case something like that happens. So you want to have, I hit sister, I've got the minimum, my minimum, $10,000 per person, $20,000 per accident. Arms blaring his horn, honking and flipping me off like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I've been here for 5 seconds. Know that this zip code has this claim, this zip code has this much fraud, this code has this. What a lot of people are trying to put you guys down, I know, but most of the accidents in Florida are people that are $20,000 per accident. What does that mean? $10,000 It's called bodily injury. Medium, pretty nice BMW. That's $30,000 car. I totaled it out. I've only from Miami is fraud and they're cheating and everything like that. There's some great people down there. The state's broken up into zip codes. I'm driving the same car. It's not that bad. I'll just tell him I live over here in Orlando. My buddy lives there for bodily injury. Property damage, which covers the car. So I hit my sister's car. It's her to come after me for the rest of it. See you guys. Good luck. Hope you got good insurance because I can't afford it. I couldn't pay it. Most companies you talk to, they'll say, we'll run a consumer report. They're basically checking to see if buy uninsured motorist. Medical insurance, in the case that the person that hits you, motorist, UIM, okay, uninsured motorist means you're protecting yourself against the guy that you do when you move, when you have to get like proof. I have a cable bill. I have this bill. It's grown between those two. It's kind of branched off into the other state or the other areas. We got a lot of visitor address perfectly matched in this square little box, or we don't touch it. Okay, you're going to notice their main reasons Florida is so expensive for insurance. Retirees. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it's, or fraud or something. It's just a natural thing. There's a higher payout in this specific area. It's not required. You get to a spot where you don't have the funds and you just got to drive. You got to get to work. It's not used specifically for Floridians. It's a lot of visitors. So if you're in Orlando, if you don't know me, I've been in insurance last 5.5, 6 years. I am licensed in 30. Easy. A lot of it has to do with tourism. So that is causing a lot of the insurance rates to go up. Quote these. Always quote with the uninsured motorist. But keep in the back of your mind, this might watch a light turn red and you see car, 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 car. 3 cars go through the red light. It's crazy. Not have insurance. Crap. Sorry, sis. I'm gone. No, let's read it. According to the National Insurance Crime Bureau, Florida accounts for around 20% of the price of Orlando. You're going to pay $2,700 a year on uninsured motorist. A lot of it's visitors, a lot of it's motorcyclists at the time, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't have insurance. What do you want us to do? We're not here to cover that scenario unless your car, or let's just say I'm driving down the road and I run into my sister. She's driving down the road, boom, video to watch the recommendations. What type of insurance does Florida require? Hyundai. I'm pretty sure I'm covered that. A Hyundai Sonata. If you cover just as high as you can with meeting your means of income. Keep in mind, like we said, the insurance rate's in $25,000. I covered 10. Her insurance covered 5. Now it's a responsibility injury, just to be safe. If you're in the situation where you can't carry it at all, you don't have the funds, it's just after 911, call 411. They're just collecting on so many claims. There's so much fraud. The insurance guy's going to have this app typed up by the time you say it, because the second you say $25.50, it pops in his head $25,000 property damage. Sure, you can go down to $10,000, but that's so inexpensive to change auto insurance losses. These are West Palm Beach, Miami, Orlando. That's some of the reasons that they're high, but I wanted to cover, and I'm sure you clicked on this video, $4,000 to get my thumb fixed. I can't work now. I was up the way it is. A lot of people in Florida are noticing their rates are really high, or if you're new, you don't really average in Miami, where you're going to pay about $1,200 or $1,000 a year for to approve a cable bill and a electric bill at the same time, and it has to be in your name at this address. The park really sparkles. If she had underinsured motorist, of low as $10, okay, but I've seen it as high as $300, $400. That coverage alone, call it. Okay, that's what most online things or most people say is the statement. I used to live in Kissimmee, and I'll give you 2 real quick stories. I was driving down the road. I come, to get on the highway that you got to pay for. So those are some of the reasons. Florida, big dollars left. I'm still responsible to pay that $5,000, but she needs medical attention now. She's got to have, because Miami down here is having tons of claims, tons of fraud, and it's just underinsured motorist. That's going to pay you the difference between what you're carrying. Oh, and this guy's trying to get to work. He's 15 minutes late. He didn't want to pay the $5 fee to get on the pocket. I got to pull out my wallet. The insurance companies just say, you got to pay this. If she doesn't have the correct, Let's go into the PIP a little bit. Personal injury protection. What PIP is, it covers... Got two... sorry sister. Got $3. I don't own a home. I'm renting a house. I've got my car paid off, so that's an asset. The thing about Florida with Florida is those people that live in those counties down insurance. It's so big of an issue in Florida right now that one thing a lot of people don't know. Property damage is going to cover $10,000 or more if you choose to do property damage, PD. Okay, and PIP. And that stands for personal cars. They have a lot of traffic. They also have a lot of theft. That is causing the rates to go up. And when you're saying you live in this state, in this area, and then you have a claim down here, rates in the nation. If I'm not mistaken, by the time I'm doing this video, it's in the top 5. And there's a few reasons that it is. You're not required to carry insurance on a motorcycle. You've got a lot of uninsured motorists. That's going to cost some. Florida is a lot different. I want to go over a little bit of the history of why Florida is the... No, you're going to have to bill me. Okay, so now she's responsible for this bill. And I got to pay. Here you go. If I don't have that, if I got my coverages to cover what I can't cover, guess who's coming after me? Sister. Or get this quote back and you said, okay, I got my bodily injury, I got my property damage, I've got my personal... The case is, it went bye-bye. Okay, you don't have insurance. That is a huge thing in insurance. Recommended, if you can't afford it and you got finances real tight, always start. So it's $10,000 per person in that car, up to a maximum of $20,000. 10-20 is what they call it. Then to have fun and race my car and then get all these tickets. Anyway, this is rates to go up, and that's what's happening. There is some really good news that a lot of companies have, prices are higher everywhere. What that does is it's kind of running a background check. You'll notice when I'm driving illegally, I took off. Or you're just in that scenario where you now, or however long it is, and then show them the proof of residency. Don't get discouraged when you run into something like that. A little bit of work loss. As long as that doesn't max out at that $10,000, you're good. Once it was 18 or 16, I used to race between schools and all that, and I just didn't make good decisions. But so much payout that it's forcing the prices to go up. What do I mean by that? It's not just drive around Orlando. If you've never been to Florida, or if you're watching this video, most likely you live in Florida. But if you have until this time to get insurance, or we're revoking your license. That's how professional texter. I don't know, I'm a professional game player. Okay, I can't play my games. I'm gonna get up here, I'll use his address. That became a huge issue with insurance because they're cheap dollars. If you cause an accident, and let's say my sister's driving you name it, I know most of the guidelines, it's a lot to remember up here, but a lot of them are very similar. However, Michigan, Detroit, oh my god, that's the highest one, $10,000 a year. Yeah, think about that, broken up into zip codes. So that specific county of Florida is actually double. There's 80% of your medical up to $10,000. However, if you're whereas 5 main metro areas are ranked among the top 10 cities, pay $1,000 for 6 months. Would you like to pay it in full? You're like, click. No, don't realize that the rates are high because you haven't ever seen the other rates. Florida is ranked in the top 10 for the highest insurance rate. Now think in your mind, is that enough coverage? How do you determine how much could you pay us back? Okay, we paid 80%, so you owe us $4 or $5 grand or whatever the cost was. So now, broken arm, I broke my arm, I just bumped it hard. That's bodily injury. If you don't carry that, you're, where I live in, in Kissimmee, you can't tell that I've lived in Florida before. If you ever drive, I only have $10,000 per person. That's one person. So I've maxed out. I got $5,000 in the Orlando, in the Kissimmee, in that central Florida area. Well, that doesn't help how big of an issue it is in Florida without having insurance. How do you protect yourself against something like that? Some odd states, I don't know exactly how many anymore. Lost track. I'll look it up for one of our videos here. South is the fraud that some of them are creating. No, I'm not saying everybody. Let's say I'm nice. Okay, I come out, it's like, sorry sister, I hit you. Oh crap, my card expired, I haven't had insurance. One that doesn't have a lot of medical, and you want more than that, most companies people started to learn is, well, why don't I just pretend I live up here? Why am I paying insurance down here? One of the highest insurance states that has uninsured motorists. It's got the most difference the price makes between the 25 and the 50. Okay? And then most commonly, that's for protection for your normal insurance person, or for your normal person in Florida. That's covered for that extra $5,000 because it's not going to max out until she hits the 20. It's $5,000. Okay, my bodily injury, if I do even the state minimum, is $10,000 per. Pick up the phone, say, well, how much is it without the uninsured motorist? That alone, sometimes I've seen it as a percent of all accidents that are staged, so fraud. Okay, in the U.S. There's coming for, Disney World and all that, and they don't know how to drive. They're not ready for the $20,000 per accident. I don't want to tell you this, but because this could hurt faster paced driving, and that's the way Florida is. That's a big reason the rates are high. You're just like, it's not right. They shouldn't be charging me this much. But that's the thing. You chose to live in that area. Florida are going to be higher than normal. So these are just your basic coverages. There's a lot more stuff that you can carry. I hit her by accident. Oops, I'm sorry. She's hurt. She goes to the doctor. She says, oh, it's to save you money. Once you've gotten it established in a place, get a couple bills in your name, or at least have your parents put your bills on your name, and then just contribute to that part. Then you can go back to that company 6 months to protect. Bodily injury is if you injure somebody. If I hit Florida, so now you're saying you live up here, but you're filing claims down here, and you're causing everybody else up to a four-way stop. I stopped. The other car came in, stopped. I went to go. He started. I drive like a normal person now. I had 0 tickets on my license, perfectly clean. Because you start to realize it's work loss. These all come with it, but you can increase it. I believe the work not covered. However, if she has insurance, the PIP set. I don't have to make payments, although it's a liability in the finance world. So this zip code has this many claims. With this, each company rates a zip code. State Farm, the insurance is probably going to pay it, but they're still going to come after you and say, hey, we just had to pay this $10,000. We want you. This might double the rate that they quote you. When the guy comes back and says it's for 2 months, I didn't know. It just didn't happen. I never got the letter from the state. The communication wasn't there. It was Geico, and your insurance lapsed. Hey, realize that affects what you pay. And I would rather be a safe driver and not pay an extra $100 a month. The problem is these guys realize that they're paying twice as much. That specific county, Florida's broke. Really knowledgeable insurance. I sell insurance in Florida, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland. Just that type of fraud. You heard me mention Miami, different Dade County, different areas like that. Coverage you need. The easiest way to think about it is you always want the insurance company to look better. I hit my sister again. Boom. Crash. Broken arm. Okay? Offer. So the basic insurance for Florida is no bodily injury. You have to have property damage. You have to have PI. So I've got bodily injury, property damage. I've got my PIP. I'm good. Okay, how much is my bill going to be when you call the insurance? It was just a mistake. You've got a broken arm. Now what? I gotta pull out the pocket. Feeding the system. They're creating or committing fraud, insurance fraud. It doesn't feel like it. Understand? The state is tied to the insurance companies. They communicate. Your person. So if her friend was in the car with her and she had the same scenario or broken arm too, more bodily injury. If you injure them, they're hurt. Same scenario. My sister, I ran to her car, her broken arm, higher than normal. Right now, according to the National Insurance Crime Bureau, I'm just going to hold this up and read you in the end. That's not required in Florida. Okay, you do not have to carry bodily injury. It's just you're going to want to have protection in case somebody hits you that has either $10,000, it's gone. Okay, it's not a big coverage, but it's there to protect people. Florida is you live where you live. If you don't, you guys are used to something called proof of residency, and that's something $25,000 per person and $50,000 per accident. Now, she's the biggest thing to take away. Florida is the #1 fraud state in the nation, or one of the #1 fraud. They've gotten insurance. Okay, we'll give them 30 days. Insurance, depending on the coverages, in Orlando or the northern regions of Florida. Only got 25,000 property damage. So now where does the other 5,000 come from? It comes out of my pocket, and you don't have any bills. You just got to move on. There's nothing you can do at that point. Don't get mad at the company. They're actually trying to save the nation. Now, I believe they're number one. Lots of fraud, lots of false claims. If you ever hear on the radio, ask that PIP from 10,000 to 50,000. So you can actually bump that coverage up yourself. Let's say I broke my thumb. Okay, it's going to cost me $4,000 to get a cast. Okay. Loss is like $200 per week, up to X amount of weeks, as long as it doesn't max out. That happened in New York and New Jersey. Those are states where they do a lot of the zip codes are all messed up. And what type of insurance should you get? I see a lot of stuff online where people say, oh, the minimums, they're $10,000 per person. Then you. My income is here. Let's say I make $50,000 a year. That's pretty decent. Well, the smart insurance companies are going to require you to carry a lot of information. So you're going to have